but you never hear me. Cushite woman astray, you have moved on sending off my way. No compassion for your pride, the advice that you were not seeking, yet the truth lies with me. With reality stuttered aching, Amecha Ami Chatan Damim, you have delivered them all but me. When it was me who saved your life from them, so you can set them free. Chatan Damim, the land of milk you shall not never see, for on your path to history you have forsaken me. On behalf of the silenced daughters, as the sound of your sons, we deserve to be heard and included. Heed the call of all the ones, for strong women were your salvation. Generations will know we're a part of the revelation. For our nation we'll grow. Chatan Damim, you have delivered them all but me. When it was me who saved your life for them, so you can set them free. Chatan Damim, the land of milk that you shall not see, for on your path to history you have forsaken me. I am here, but you'll never hear me. Chatan Damim.
Shabbat Shalom. That prelude song was called Tzipporah's Song by our own cantor Iris Carlin. Tzipporah was the wife of Moses. She's mentioned in the Torah portion last week and this week, although largely forgotten. A fascinating figure in her own right. Tzipporah's song was written by Iris and won a prize in Israel. And I'll take this opportunity to mention that tomorrow is the cantor's birthday. So we wish her a happy birthday, a Yom Holedet Sameach. If we were going downstairs for the oneg, we would have had a cake, and we would have had pieces of the cake and sang happy birthday in Hebrew. I don't know which birthday it is, but it doesn't matter. You should have a happy birthday, cantor. This Shabbat is also, I found out today, Scout Shabbat, as part of Scout Sunday, as in the Boy Scouts. And so we might have a few Boy Scouts listening in this evening. If so, I want to welcome you especially. I know I've welcomed you many years here at the synagogue, and a little later in the service, I'll have a message from Robbie Slater, a member of our congregation who is very active in the Boy Scouts. It sure looks a lot different coming to the synagogue this evening from a week ago. That was some snowstorm that we had, and I think more is on the way, as well as a deep freeze. We are still in the middle of winter, despite the fact that Tu B'Shvat has come and gone. Our ancestors have continued on their journey from last week's Torah portion, the Exodus itself, now making their way to the mountain, to Mount Sinai. We'll be speaking about that magical moment when our ancestors left behind their bickering and their divisions, and this rare moment of unity when they gathered at the mountain and received the Torah. On the theme of unity, Hine Matov is a song that speaks to unity and how good it is when brothers and sisters dwell together.
Hine Matov u'manahim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov u'manahim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine Matov, hine Matov, na 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 na. Hine Matov, hine Matov, na 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 na. Hine Matov u'manahim, na 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 na. Hine Matov u'manahim, shevet achim gam yachad. shevet achim gam yachad, hine matov u'manahim, shevet achim gam yachad.
For those who have the Siddur in hand, we are ready for our call to worship, the Baruch Hu, page 70. As day departs, as the dark of night descends, we lift our eyes to the heavens in awe and wonder. Our hearts cry out, Eternal God, how majestic is your name in all the earth. A vast universe, who can know it? What mind can fathom it? We look out to the endless suns and ask, what are we? What are our dreams and our hopes? What are we that you are mindful of us? What are we that you should care for us? And yet within us abides a measure of your spirit. You are remote, but oh, how near, ordering the stars in the vast solitudes of the dark, yet whispering in our minds that you are closer than the air we breathe. For you have made us little less than divine and crowned us with glory and honor. With love and awe we turn to you, and in the dark of evening, we seek the light of your presence.
Ahavat olam, beiti תורה ומצוות, חוקים ומשפטים, אותנו לימדת, אותנו לימדת. על כן אדוני אלוהינו בשוכבנו ובקומנו נשיח בחוקיך, ונשמח בדברי תורתך ובמצוותיך לעולם ועד, כי הם חיינו ואורך ימינו, ובהם נהגי יומם ולילה, נהגי יומם ולילה, ואהבתך אל תסיר ממנו לעולמים. ברוך אתה אדוני, אוהב עמו ישראל. אוהב עמו ישראל.
Let's join in the Shema.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto לעולם ועד. ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם.
The two foundational events, epic events of Jewish history, occurred within 7 weeks of each other. The Exodus and the revelation at Mount Sinai. The Exodus gave us our freedom. Mount Sinai gave us our revelation, our moral content, our purpose, our direction. And when you stop and think about it, these are not one-time events, because at every Jewish gathering, at every service, we remember the Exodus and remember the giving of Torah and say thank you for both. We remember the Exodus now in the words of Micha Mocha on the bottom of page 73. ונאמר כי פדה אדוני את יעקב וגואלו מיד חזק ממנו ברוך אתה אדוני גאל Yisrael. As we get ready to sing the Hashkivenu prayer on page 74, Hashkivenu, the word itself, means to lie down. We ask God to help us lie down in peace and then get up, ha'amidenu, l'chaim, and arise to life the next morning. We're essentially asking God for a good and full night's sleep, and a refreshing one at that. I would like to announce that my grandson has slept through the night for the first time. He's 4 months old. I think it was about time for that. I wish his grandparents could sleep through the night. Kind of interesting. We can't right now, but we all aspire to the revitalization of a good night's sleep and waking up to greet the day. Hashkivenu.
Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom Vehamidenu malkeinu lechaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom Vehamidenu malkeinu lechaim Ushmot tzedteinu uvoeinu lechaim ulshalom me'ata ve'ad olam Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom ve'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim Hashkivenu Adonai Eloheinu leshalom ve'hamidenu malkeinu lechaim
Baruch atah Adonai, hapores sukat shalom aleinu ve'al kol amo Yisrael ve'al Yerushalayim. The middle of page 75, the people of Israel shall keep the Shabbat. That's part of the 10 Commandments that are in this week's Torah portion. Number 4 out of the big 10. More has Shabbat kept the people than the people have kept Shabbat, but we aspire to that day of rest and revitalization that we celebrate in the Vishamru.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות המרית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות המרית עולם. ביני ובין בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות המרית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני, עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות המרית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות המרית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורות המרית עולם.
I like that key, nice and low, very nice. Here's an interesting thought about prayer. On the bottom of page 75, prayer invites God to let the divine presence suffuse our spirits and to let the divine will prevail in our lives. Prayer cannot bring water to parched fields, nor mend a broken bridge, nor rebuild a ruined city, but prayer can water an arid soul, mend a broken heart, and rebuild a weakened will. For the Tefillah, Amidah prayer, page 76.
Adonai שפתי תפתח ופי אגיד תהילתך. Eternal God, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your glory. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ואלוהי אבותינו ואימותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי לאה ואלוהי רחל, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומל חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות ואימהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה. מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן, ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם ועזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל אתה, רב להושיע. מחלקי לחיים בחסד, מחיה ימים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לישני עפר, מלחמה בעל גבורות, ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיי הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלע. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
On the top of page 80, Eternal Source of Good, we give thanks for the numberless gifts and blessings that fill our days, for life itself and its endless variety, for all that sustains body and mind, for love and friendship, for the delights of the senses, and for the excellence of your Torah, which deepens our life and enriches our days. Teach us, God of wonders, to work for a just and compassionate society where all may share your gifts in the joy of freedom. Shalom Rav.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech adon lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael amcha, tasim leolam. וטוב בעיניך לברך את עמך ישראל, בכל עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. שלום רב על ישראל עמך, תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם. תשים לעולם.
Now at the end of the Amidah, our thoughts turn to those of our loved ones in need of healing, be this a healing of body or a healing of soul. We think especially in our congregational family this evening of Kara Doviak, Diego Reynoso, Louise Schwartz, and Hilda Salworth. Please bring to mind those of your loved ones as we join together in the healing chant.
מקור הברכה לאמותינו. May the source source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say Amen. ישבח אמותינו מקור הברכה אבותינו. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shelema, the renewal of the body, the renewal of the spirit, and let us say Amen.
As we think about this great moment of unity that was Sinai from this week's portion, now we think about how we can foster a greater sense of unity in our own families and in our communities. We know that being together as one in our community starts with a sense of wholeness and oneness at home as well. The Hebrew word yachad means together, and after this moment of silent prayer, the cantor will sing a song from Israel called Yachad.
האור שבשמיים, יחד לב עליו נפתח בתקווה לאהבה. איך שהלב נפתח חובק את העולם, ובקריאה גדולה שיר לאהבה. יחד לב אליו נפתח ונראה את האור שבשמיים. יחד לב אליו נפתח בתקווה לאהבה. אמרו הכל אפשר, זה לא מאוחר, השחר כבר עלה, זמן לאהבה. יחד לב עליו נפתח ונראה את האור שבשמיים. יחד לב עליו נפתח בתקווה לאהבה. ורק אם נאמין ובלי שום דאווין בדרך העולם
Before sharing some of my own words about Yachad, about togetherness and unity, I did mention at the beginning of the service that this is Scout Shabbat as part of Scout Sunday, and Robbie Slater is a member of this congregation and a member of my confirmation class. And he has a message that I'd like to read now. My name is Robbie Slater, a Life Scout in Troop 71, Leonia. Troop 71 is the Boy Scout troop in Leonia, made up of primarily boys from Leonia, but also has boys from other towns, and as of this year, a girls' troop, 71G. Paul Springab is our troop scoutmaster. Before the current pandemic, we met in person on Mondays and would go on camping trips once a month. Some of our activities have included hiking, mountain biking, canoeing, archery, and indoor climbing. Twice a year, our group organizes a food drive in Leonia. You may have received our bags asking for donations. Every summer, there is an option to go to summer camp, and through the activities, boys advance through the scouting ranks. During the pandemic, our troop switched to virtual meetings on Mondays. Boys have progressed through the scouting ranks, made presentations of Boy Scout topics to the troop, and have played games as a group, all online, like Pictionary and trivia and other games that we can do together online. We have gone on 2 hikes since the pandemic began. In Boy Scouts, there is something called the Scout Law, which is, quote, a scout is trustworthy, loyal, helpful, friendly, courteous, kind, obedient, cheerful, thrifty, brave, clean, and reverent. Today, I am participating in Scout Sunday, where Boy Scouts are encouraged to participate in their religious services and also services of other religions from boys in their troop. Troop 71 in Leonia participates in Scout Sunday every year. Scout Sunday is an example of a scout being reverent. The Boy Scout Handbook says, we show our reverence by living our lives according to the ideals of our beliefs. This means that a scout respects his or her religion by actively participating in services and other events that their religion teaches. Well said, Robbie. And I want to thank any scouts who are joining us this evening. If you would like to conclude your participation in the service at this time, I will give you credit for having attended this Sabbath service before my remarks and the conclusion of our service in a few minutes. Thank you again, Robbie and the Scouts, for all you do. There's a lot to say about Jewish unity or disunity these days. In fact, I think I have enough to say for at least 2 sermons, which means I'll start this evening and I'll finish next week. There's a striking interpretation of a sentence in our Torah portion when it says that Vayichon Sham Yisrael Neged Hahar, that the Israelites encamped at the base of the mountain. And in this verse, that verb, to encamp, to park, occurs twice. In speaking about the people of Israel, you would expect the plural each time. But the second time that the verb is used, it was in the singular. The rabbi said everything is there for a reason. That's not a mistake. And listen to what the great commentator Rashi says. He says, Ki ish echad belev echad, aval shar kol hachaniyot b'machloket. I translate that. The Israelites gathered as if one person with one heart at Sinai, as against the other times that they camped with plenty of division. Machloket, division, controversy. So Rashi and others see this use of the language, the singular, to describe the people as a rare moment of unity, of being bayachad, to receive the Torah at Mount Sinai. Everybody put aside their differences and their divisions for this special moment, if you can believe it. Well, it doesn't seem to be that way these days. I read a really thought-provoking piece right after Election Day in the Jewish Forward online called One People, ? by Joel Swanson. And he begins, there's a number that sums up the yawning and growing gap dividing American and Israeli Jews right now. And that number is 77. What's the significance of 77? Well, I'll tell you. It has double significance. That's the percentage of American Jewish voters who chose Joe Biden over Donald Trump in the election. Coincidentally, the number 77, the exact same number, was the percentage of Israelis in a public opinion poll who favored Donald Trump over Joe Biden. There you have it, 77.
It's also the gematria of Oz. Oz.
American Jews, by and large, felt one way about Donald Trump. Israeli Jews, by and large, felt the polar opposite in terms of percentages of the population. No population is monolithic. 77% means that there was still a significant, over 1 out of 4, between 1 out of 4 and 1 out of 3, who may have felt different from the rest of the population. And he goes on to say, the symmetry is almost too perfect here. Our two Jewish communities, which are the two largest Jewish communities in the world today by a substantial margin, the lion's share, as I've mentioned before, of the Jews in the world now live in two countries, Israel and America. He says they're a perfect political mirror image of one another. And the rest of the article goes on to explore why that is the case. This is a big subject, and I said I'll just start to tackle it a little bit before. But his main thesis is this. In the United States, even though we are about 6 million Jews, 5 to 6 million Jews, we're a tiny minority of people in a country of 360 million people. And as a result, according to Swanson and others who have propounded this thesis, we naturally identify with minorities. We want to make sure that Americans are open to minorities, are open to immigrants, are pluralistic, and are liberal. Jews are among the most liberal voting groups, American Jews, in this country, and have been consistently so for decades. The percentage has gone down somewhat, but not all that much. That is not the case in Israel. As a matter of fact, the political climate of Israel, when I was growing up and when I was a young teen and then college student in Israel, when the Labor Party and the liberal, progressive, almost in some cases socialistic Israel was ascendant, that's gone. That's over. It changed. It began changing with the epic election of Menachem Begin, which I remember so well. And think about the decades since. The Likud party has been ascendant in the majority of those years. The Labor Party has shrunk to almost nothing. The left is splintered and in disarray. And Israel is really a red state country today. I will have more to say about that next week. Whereas American Jewish community is a blue state community by and large. The last point that I want to make this evening is that the author delves into why this in America, and another author that I'll explore next week, named Mizrahi, and a Mizrahi Jew, will explain red state Israel. But as I mentioned, first, it's that in America we expect pluralism. We see that as the best path, progressive path, to ensure our rights, other minority rights. In Israel, it's different. It's a majority Jewish state, of course. And Swanson says, while the world's largest and most successful diaspora Jewish community places its faith in the principles of liberal democracy, the citizens of Israel, in contrast, have no expectation that their state should be religiously or ethnically neutral, but rather constructed a state explicitly intended to privilege the interest of the Jewish people above all others. After all, it's a Jewish state. And if you were to ask most Israelis, is Israel a Jewish state above all for the benefit of Jews? They would say, yes, of course. As a matter of fact, the Knesset recently passed a new basic law that states explicitly that, the Jewish national state law. And so for Israelis, you don't necessarily have as your utmost concern minorities and immigrant rights and other progressive causes. You want a state that will be protective of the rights and privileges of Jews in a Jewish state and maintain that security. So it's a different worldview, if you may see it that way. And so if you extend that to the current political situation, American Jews would naturally shy away from a person like Donald Trump. Israeli Jews are naturally drawn to a person like Donald Trump. As a matter of fact, his name is Netanyahu, and he's the longest serving prime minister now in Israeli history. He's won election after election some way. And then add to that the notion that Donald Trump did make very pro-Israel statements and take pro-Israel actions that politically conservative people in Israel and the United States approved of, and you can understand why there's such a divergence. Swanson says, can we move forward as one people if we're so divided in this way? He says, I suspect the answer is no, we can't. I'm going to hold that question open, and I'm going to continue the discussion next week. I'll conclude by saying unity, as we well know, in any people, in any community, in any country, is always elusive. It's not necessarily the norm, but we rally as Americans around a covenant enshrined in a constitution. Can we as a Jewish people, like our ancestors did, rally around a common set of values and principles in the constitution of the Jewish people called the Torah. Families have plenty of disunity, but they tend to rally around each other at the most important times. I think Jewish history has shown that we are capable of doing that. We have done so in the past, from ancient history to more common modern history, and we can do so again. Not easy, but lev echad, with one heart, and ka'ish echad, like one person. But unity is something we can aspire to if we rise to the occasion. Part 2 of this discussion next week. Shabbat Shalom. One of the ways that we remember the giving of the Torah is the reading of the Torah on Shabbat morning, and it's opening the Ark, gazing upon the Torah scrolls. Now, for the Aleinu prayer, page 148.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו ושכינתו זו בגובהי מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו, ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשבות אל לבבך. אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל, ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. ונאמר והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו
On this Shabbat, our thoughts turn to those of our loved ones no longer with us. We recall in love and reverence those recently taken from our midst, Saul Epstein. And on this Shabbat, in love and reverence, the Yortzeit, the anniversary of the passing of Benjamin Straight, father of Lance Straight, Paul Reinhold, uncle of Mark Rosenberg, Samuel Boimel, brother of Fanny Fishbein, Stephanie Jacobowitz, wife of Marshall Jacobowitz, mother of Emery, Hannah, and Aaron. For all those close to our hearts, and for all those for whom there may be no one to say Kaddish, we join in the Kaddish prayer, page 154. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei v'yamlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayei d'chol Beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'imru amen. Yehe shmei rabbah mevarach leolam olamei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitroman v'yitnaseh, v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei d'kodisha b'richu. Leila min kol birchata v'shirata, tushbechata v'nechemata, da'amiran be'alma v'imru amen. Yehe shlama rabba min shamaya, v'hayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and comfort to all who are bereaved. Amen. Shabbat morning Torah study will take place tomorrow, Shabbat morning, at 10 o'clock. We'll look at that famous comment of Rashi and other comments he makes in connection with the revelation of Torah at Mount Sinai. Religious school meets as scheduled on Sunday. A few people asked me about the order of services this week. And I'll just remind you, please check on a weekly basis the weekly announcements or your calendar in the Kadima or on our website, because we change from month to month based on a number of factors, like family services, like holidays, like the cantor's schedule. So generally, we do have 2 Zoom services, 2 live stream services, but the order in which they occur will vary from month to month. I would like to thank Michael Fishbein, who is here with the live streaming of our service this evening. And let's end on a note of unity with the simple song, essentially of 3 basic words: Am Yisrael Chai, the people of Israel lives. Through all the centuries and millennia of unity and disunity, the people of Israel perseveres and lives to today. That's a very inspirational and unifying statement, and we'll join with the cantor after yet another inspirational service.
You said simple. There's nothing simple about Jews at all. Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael, Am Yisrael. חי, עם ישראל חי, עם ישראל חי, עם ישראל, עם ישראל, 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 עם ישראל חי.
Shabbat Shalom.